My child, I see the way your heart clenches when the night gets quiet and the room feels too still. I see the ache you do not say out loud, the one that sits behind your smile and whispers that everyone else was chosen, but you were left behind. I see the question you keep trying not to ask, because asking it makes the wound open wider. Why am I still alone? Why did they leave? Why does love seem to find everyone except me? Beloved, I know that pain. I know the humiliation of hoping again, only to be disappointed again. I know the secret tears you have wiped away before anyone could notice. I know the way you have stared at your phone, your inbox, your empty couch, your empty bed, and wondered if something is wrong with you. But listen to me carefully, my child. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. And you are not the victim of random silence. I have seen every lonely hour, every broken promise, every conversation that felt warm until it suddenly turned cold. I have seen the betrayal you never fully explained to anyone because the story was too painful, too embarrassing, too complicated. I have seen the moments when you smiled on the outside while your heart was saying, I cannot do this anymore. And because you have been hurting, you have been searching. I know where you have gone for comfort. I know the scrolls, the videos, the late-night searches, the pages you kept rereading because you wanted one clear answer. You asked the universe, even if you did not say those exact words. You looked for signs in numbers, in songs, in dreams, in repeated names, in random verses pulled out of context, in every little coincidence that felt like maybe, just maybe, this would be the one thing that finally tells you what is happening. You tried manifestation because you were tired of waiting. You tried telling yourself that if you could just think the right thoughts, feel the right feeling, hold the right vision, then love would surely come. You tried to convince your own heart that luck might turn in your favor if you were patient enough, positive enough, spiritual enough, open enough. And when desperation grows, even good people start reaching for anything that promises relief. I understand that, my child. I understand the hunger beneath it. You were not chasing superstition because you wanted to rebel. You were chasing answers because you were hurting. You were trying to find a map in the dark. But I am here to speak to you now, and I need you to hear me without fear. I am not angry at you for the places you have searched. I am not condemning you for the ways you tried to survive your loneliness. I am not shaming you for wanting to be loved deeply, faithfully, and honestly. That desire did not come from some weak place in you. It came from how I made you. I put that longing in your heart for a reason. But, beloved, I must also tell you this. Not every longing should lead you to every door. Not every sign is mine. Not every voice that sounds comforting is truth. Not every emotional pull is a promise. The enemy knows your pain, and he knows that if he can keep you emotionally hungry, he can keep you spiritually distracted. He will offer you patterns instead of peace. He will offer you obsession instead of discernment. He will offer you the counterfeit thrill of, maybe this is it, while he keeps you from the quiet, steady, holy way I lead my children. So do not be afraid of what you are about to discover about Soulmate, my child, but do not build your hope on lies either. I am speaking to the part of you that has been waiting for a name, waiting for a face, waiting for a moment when everything will suddenly make sense. You have wondered whether there is one person I have chosen for you from the beginning, one perfect match who will come and erase every lonely chapter of your life. You have wondered whether this person is already in your life, and you just missed it. You have wondered whether you lost them because you made the wrong choice, said the wrong words, trusted the wrong person, or moved too slowly. You have wondered whether your loneliness is proof that you are behind in life, behind in love, behind in the timeline you thought everyone else was receiving. Beloved, hear me. Your life is not a mistake, and your story is not out of my hands. But I need to gently correct some of the ideas that have been feeding your fear. You have been taught to chase the concept of soulmate as if it were a magical lock and key hidden somewhere in the world, as if I were sitting in heaven waiting to drop one perfect person into your lap while you decode every sign and symptom along the way. But I do not lead my children through confusion. I do not make them anxiously guess their way into destiny. I do not ask you to worship a person before you know their character. I do not call you to build your peace on the idea that one human being will complete what only I can complete in you. Beloved, a soulmate is not your savior. No spouse, no partner, no romantic promise can carry the weight of the place I alone hold in your heart. If you make another person responsible for your healing, your worth, your identity, your future, you will turn love into an idol and disappointment into a prison. And yet, my child, I also know the other side of this ache. I know the fear that maybe there is no one at all. I know the quiet terror that says, what if I spent all these years hoping for a love story that never comes? What if I am meant to be alone? What if I am too late? What if the betrayal ruined my chance? What if the divorce, the abandonment, the heartbreak, the years of waiting, the time I lost, the choices I regret, what if all of it left me with nothing? That fear is real. It presses on your chest. It can feel so convincing that you start treating despair like wisdom. You tell yourself to stop hoping so you will not be disappointed again. You make a little agreement with your own heart. If I expect nothing, I can hurt less. But beloved, I did not create you to live guarded, numb, and half alive. I did not design your heart to be buried under suspicion. I know the scars are there. I know trust feels expensive now. I know your spirit has learned to flinch. But fear is not your prophet. Anxiety is not your guide. Worry is not your witness. I am. When you begin to fear what you are about to discover, it is often because hidden things are coming into the light, and light can feel threatening before it feels healing. If you have been praying for clarity, do not be surprised when clarity comes. If you have asked me to reveal what is real and what is false, do not panic when I start separating truth from wishful thinking. Sometimes what you are about to discover is not that you were abandoned by love, but that you were being protected from what looked like love. Sometimes the one you called soulmate was never safe for your soul. Sometimes the connection that felt spiritually intense was simply emotionally addictive, energetically chaotic, or rooted in a season that was never meant to become your forever. I know that is hard to hear. I know you may have built prayers around a person, memories around a person, tears around a person. You may have made them the center of your private hope. But I am a loving Father, and I will not let you keep calling a wounded destiny. Beloved, there are some discoveries that do not come to destroy you. They come to free you. You may discover that what you thought was rejection was actually redirection. You may discover that what you thought was delay was actually mercy. You may discover that the door that stayed closed was protecting you from years of regret. You may discover that the person who walked away could not have carried the depth of covenant you were asking for. You may discover that the dream you clung to was smaller than the purpose I was writing for you. And yes, you may also discover that the way I am preparing your love story looks nothing like the fantasy you rehearsed in your mind. It may be slower. It may be quieter. It may be more mature. It may be less dramatic and far more holy. It may not arrive with fireworks, but with peace. It may not arrive with obsession, but with steadiness. It may not make your flesh tremble, but it will make your spirit settle. Do not despise that, my child. Peace is a sign. Safety is a sign. Consistency is a sign. A heart that points you toward me instead of away from me is a sign. You have been taught, perhaps by pain and perhaps by the culture around you, to romanticize intensity. The intense one, the unavailable one, the one who keeps you guessing, the one who makes your emotions swing from hope to heartbreak, the one who keeps you awake at night trying to interpret every text and every silence. But beloved, not all intensity is intimacy. Not all chemistry is covenant. Not all longing is leading. The enemy loves to confuse your nervous system with destiny. He loves to make chaos feel sacred. He loves to use the language of soul connection to pull you toward what will consume rather than bless you. That is why you must learn to test what you feel. You must learn to ask not only, does this excite me? But also, does this align with my peace? Does it produce patience? Does it produce humility? Does it draw you closer to me? Does it make you more whole or more fragmented? I know your past has left you with a complicated relationship with trust. Maybe someone promised forever and gave you inconsistency. Maybe someone spoke softly and acted carelessly. Maybe you were used, overlooked, compared, or replaced. Maybe you were the one who stayed too long, hoping kindness would grow into commitment. Maybe you were the one who finally walked away because staying was costing you your soul. Whatever happened, I saw it. And I am telling you now, you do not have to go back into the dark to prove you are worthy of the light. You do not have to keep revisiting pain because you think love requires it. You do not have to call every unresolved connection the one simply because your heart still remembers it. Time does not automatically transform confusion into calling. Distance does not automatically make someone chosen. Tears do not automatically sanctify a relationship. My child, discernment will save you where longing cannot. There is also something else I need you to understand. The discovery ahead may expose not only what was false around you, but what has been hidden inside you. I love you too much to leave you in self-deception. Sometimes the thing that keeps you from receiving healthy love is not that I have withheld it, but that fear has taught you to sabotage it. You pull away when someone is kind because you do not know how to trust kindness. You overanalyze because you are afraid to be surprised. You cling too tightly because abandonment has made you feel unsafe. Or you refuse to open your heart at all because vulnerability now feels like danger. Beloved, I am not exposing these things to shame you. I am revealing them so I can heal them. If I show you the places where fear has ruled, it is because I want you free, not because I want you condemned. I am gentle with the broken places, but I am also truthful with them. So when I say, do not fear what you are about to discover, I am speaking to both the outside and the inside. You may discover that the person you thought was your answer is not. You may discover that what you called destiny was a distraction. You may discover that someone's beautiful words hit a divided heart. You may discover that your own heart has been trying to build a future on unfinished grief. But you may also discover something glorious, that I have been working quietly all along, that I have been removing what could not stay, that I have been teaching you what love is not so you can recognize what love is, that I have been shaping your character, deepening your discernment, strengthening your boundaries, and softening your fear at the same time. My child, I do my deepest work in hidden places. I do not rush the roots because I care about the fruit. Right now, some of you are thinking about a specific person. You can feel it. Their name rises in your thoughts even as you try to resist it. You are wondering if I am talking about them. You are wondering if this message is a confirmation of what you have secretly hoped for. Beloved, I know the way your mind reaches for certainty. I know the way you want me to say, yes, that is the one. Do not question it. Go all in. But I am not here to feed your anxiety or to bless your assumptions. I am here to lead you into truth. If a relationship is from me, it will not require you to ignore red flags, silence your conscience, or abandon your identity to keep it. If someone is meant to walk with you, they will not need to be chased, decoded, or spiritually forced into position. My gifts do not come through confusion and coercion. They come through timing, peace, and fruit that lasts. And yes, my child, I know you have been afraid that if you stop chasing signs, you will miss me. But I am not hidden because I want to play games with your heart. I am not speaking only through repeated numbers, social media posts, and sudden emotional spikes. I speak through wisdom. I speak through scripture. I speak through counsel. I speak through peace that remains when the feeling is gone. I speak through doors that open cleanly, not painfully. I speak through a love that does not ask you to make yourself smaller in order to be chosen. If you have been exhausted by the search, that is your soul telling you it is time to return to simpler obedience. Pray, wait, watch, test, rest, trust. That is not passive. That is powerful. That is how my children stop being led around by every breeze and begin walking with steady feet. Beloved, I am also aware of the shame that can attach itself to this kind of waiting. You may feel embarrassed that you still care so much. You may feel foolish that you still hope. You may compare your story to friends, siblings, or strangers and wonder why their love seems easier than yours. But there is no shame in being human, and there is no shame in wanting covenant. There is shame only in surrendering your discernment because you are afraid of being alone. Do not let the pressure of time make you accept what your spirit knows is off. Do not let the fear of never being chosen make you settle for being half-loved. I would rather have you single and whole than attached and constantly wounded. I would rather teach you endurance than let you be seduced by a counterfeit that will cost you years. There is a reason I am bringing hidden things to the surface in this season. Hidden motives, hidden intentions, hidden patterns, hidden wounds, hidden grief, hidden hope, hidden deception. The truth may first feel like loss, because truth often asks you to release a story you have cherished. But once that story is gone, there is room for the real thing. You cannot receive what I have prepared while clinging to what only looked beautiful. That is why this moment feels so intense for you. Your heart knows something is shifting. Your spirit feels the weight of a decision you have not yet fully made. Part of you wants to keep believing the fantasy because fantasy asks nothing of you except longing. But the real love I have for you will ask for honesty, surrender, patience, and courage. It will ask you to let me lead. My child, some of you are not just afraid of discovering that a person was wrong. You are afraid of discovering that your entire idea of soulmate has to change. You are afraid that if I strip away the myth, what remains will feel too ordinary, too uncertain, too unromantic. But I need you to understand that holy love is not less than romance. It is more. It is deeper than a spark. It is stronger than a crush. It is steadier than obsession. It can include passion, yes, but it is not built on passion alone. It can include deep connection, yes, but it is not sustained by emotional highs. It includes honor. It includes loyalty. It includes sacrifice. It includes the quiet choice to stay truthful when it would be easier to perform. It includes the ability to repent, forgive, grow, and listen. It includes, too, people who know they are not each other's God, but who are willing to walk in the light together. That, my beloved, is something far more precious than a fantasy. You may not yet see where this is going, but I do. You may feel like you are standing in a long corridor with doors on both sides, hearing whispers, trying to decide which one is mine. I tell you now, you do not need to panic. You do not need to force the door. You do not need to chase the clock. I am not late. I am not confused. I am not undecided. I am already in the next room. I am already in the conversation you have not had yet. I am already in the healing work you cannot see. I am already in the pruning. I am already in the ending. I am already in the beginning. And if something must be revealed that breaks your heart before it heals it, trust me enough to let it come. The truth that frees you is mercy, even when it stings. Stay with me, my child, because what I am about to show you will change the way you think about love, timing, and the person you have been calling your soulmate. And even if the first thing you learn is not what you expected, do not run from it. Do not harden. Do not shut down. I am with you in the revealing. I am with you in the uncertainty. I am with you when the illusion falls away. And I am with you when the real thing begins to appear. My child, I want you to go deeper with me now, because the trap was never only about romance. The trap was about what the pain in your life made you vulnerable to believe. You did not fall into confusion because you were foolish. You fell into it because you were hurting. And when a heart is hurting, it reaches for certainty like a drowning person reaches for air. That is why fear became such a strong voice in your mind. Fear told you that if you did not figure this out quickly, you would lose your chance forever. Fear told you that if you were not constantly looking, constantly checking, constantly interpreting, you would miss the one person I had for you. Fear made you hurry. Fear made you anxious. Fear made you overread what should have been simple. Fear made you call pressure discernment. But beloved, fear never leads you into peace. It always demands more from you and gives you less in return. Some of you also fell into these traps because of financial pressure. You were not only lonely, you were tired. Tired of carrying everything. Tired of doing life by yourself. Tired of facing bills, responsibility, uncertainty, and the quiet humiliation of feeling like everyone else had help while you had to keep surviving on grit and prayers. And when that kind of pressure builds, the heart starts to imagine rescue in human form. You begin to think, if I could just meet the right person, maybe life would stop feeling so hard. Maybe someone would share the burden. Maybe someone would see me, support me, choose me, make all of this feel lighter. Beloved, I understand that desire. I understand why your heart longed for a partner who could bring relief. But I needed you to know the difference between a partner and a rescuer. I am your rescuer. I am your provider. I am the one who keeps you breathing when the numbers do not add up, when the job shifts, when the savings run thin, when the future looks more like a question than a promise. A spouse can stand beside you, yes. A faithful companion can share the load, yes. But no person can replace the way I carry you. And for some of you, the trap was broken trust. Trust has been shattered in your hands before. Someone gave you reason to believe, and then they did not stay. Someone said they were safe, and then they proved otherwise. Someone made vows, whether spoken or implied, and then they treated your heart like something disposable. Someone called you too much because they did not want the responsibility of loving deeply. Someone called you sensitive because they wanted to minimize the damage they caused. My child, I saw every fracture. I saw how betrayal changed the way you read people. I saw the way you started looking for proof before you allowed yourself to hope. I saw the way you kept one foot out the door even when you wanted to be fully present, because you learned too many times that full presence can cost you. So when a connection appeared that felt familiar or intense, part of you grabbed it, and part of you guarded it. And the tension between those two parts made everything feel spiritual, urgent, and fated. But I want you to know that not everything familiar is safe, and not everything exciting is true. Sometimes you are drawn to what mirrors the wound because the wound recognizes its own language. There is also pride, my child, and I speak of it with tenderness, not accusation. Pride is not always loud. Sometimes pride is the hidden belief that you should be able to solve everything if you just think hard enough, discern well enough, or spiritually advance enough. Pride says, I should not need help. I should not need to wait. I should not need to admit I am confused. Pride says, if I can just get enough insight, I can control the outcome. And when the heart is in pain, pride can disguise itself as wisdom. It can sound very spiritual. It can say, I just know. It can say, I have a revelation. It can say, this must be the person because the signs line up. But beloved, if the signs keep you restless, anxious, and self-important, they are not serving you. I do not lead my children into self-reliance dressed up as revelation. I lead them into humility, because humility can hear me clearly. This is why I am not condemning you for how you got here. I am showing you why it happened, so you stop being ashamed and start being healed. You are not the first heart to be confused by fear. You are not the first to reach for comfort in the wrong place. You are not the first to mistake survival for strategy. And you are not the first to have to let me dismantle an entire way of thinking before I build something better in its place. The process is not proof that I have failed you. It is proof that I am faithful enough to tell you the truth and tender enough to walk with you through the fallout of it. Look at Job, my child. Look at how much he lost and how deeply he questioned. He did not lose a little. He lost nearly everything that looked secure. His protection, his wealth, his health, the visible stability of his life, and then even the emotional comfort of being understood were all shaken. And yet, in the middle of his agony, when his friends offered him shallow answers and his own soul cried out with pain, I was still there. Job could not see the full reason, but heaven had not abandoned him. There was a challenge unseen. There was a battle behind the veil. There were accusations that Job did not even know were happening. My child, that is why your life has felt heavier than you can explain. Some of what you are facing is not just emotional. It is spiritual. There are unseen pressures. There are lies aimed at your identity. There are accusations meant to make you believe you are unwanted, unchosen, and unprotected. But just as I held Job when the storm circled him, I am holding you now. I allowed what I allowed not because I delighted in his pain, but because I was working a greater testimony through it. And I am doing the same for you. I did this for him, and I am doing it for you. Joseph is another one, beloved. Joseph was given dreams before he was given understanding. He saw a future he could not yet carry. And then betrayal came through his own brothers, through the very people he should have been able to trust. He was sold, stripped, lied about, imprisoned, forgotten. Do you hear that? Forgotten. He knew what it was to be overlooked by people who had promised to remember. He knew what it was to be in a place where his gifts were real, but his circumstances were painful. He knew what it was to be in a season that made no sense at all. But God was with him in the pit, with him in Potiphar's house, with him in prison, with him in the waiting, with him in the promotion. Joseph could not have understood at the beginning why the path would be so rough, but every detour was preparing him to carry what was coming. My child, when you think your delay means denial, remember Joseph. When you think your betrayal was the end, remember Joseph. When you think the dream died because the process hurt too much, remember Joseph. The very things meant to break him became the path by which I positioned him. And if I did this for him, I am doing it for you. I did this for him, and I am doing it for you. David too, beloved. David was anointed while he was still overlooked. He was chosen while he was still tending sheep. He was marked by me before he was recognized by people. And then came the giant, the battle, the jealousy, the caves, the running, the loneliness of being pursued by a king who should have celebrated his rise. David had promises over his life, but the road to those promises was not straight. It was filled with wilderness, fear, loyalty tested, and seasons where he had to keep trusting me while the throne remained out of reach. Do you see the pattern? I anointed him before I promoted him. I prepared him before I positioned him. I built character before I gave him authority. Beloved, That is why some of what you have wanted has taken time. You wanted the crown, but I was forming the shepherd. You wanted the answer, but I was training the soul to handle the answer well. David had to learn what it meant to wait without becoming bitter, to lead without becoming arrogant, to suffer without becoming faithless. And I am doing that with you now. I am teaching your heart how to hold blessing without breaking under it. I did this for him, and I am doing it for you. And Moses, my child. Moses knew what it was to be called while feeling inadequate. He knew what it was to be near deliverance and still not feel ready for it. He knew what it was to have a divine assignment that stretched far beyond his own confidence. He protested. He hesitated. He made excuses. He focused on what he lacked. He saw the giant mountain of responsibility and thought, "Who am I?" But I did not choose Moses because he was naturally fearless. I chose him because I would be with him. And when the time came, I used his obedience to lead a people out of bondage. The path was not easy. It involved wilderness, complaint, waiting, and repeated lessons about trust. But every step was part of a larger deliverance. My child, if you have felt unqualified, unready, or overwhelmed by the idea of love, covenant, or the future I have for you, remember Moses. I do not call the equipped. I equip the called. I do not ask for perfect confidence. I ask for willing surrender. And I will go with you. I did this for him, and I am doing it for you. Do you see how I have always worked, beloved? I have never been intimidated by the process. I have never been in a rush that made me sloppy. I have never lost track of the hearts I carry. What looks like delay to you is often depth to me. What looks like disappointment to you is sometimes diversion from danger. What looks like a closed door is often the mercy of heaven standing between you and a pain you cannot yet see. I know you wanted simple answers. I know you wanted the person, the timing, the certainty. But I care more about your soul than your schedule. I care more about who you become than how quickly your longing gets satisfied. That does not mean I ignore your desire. It means I redeem it. There is a reason your journey has touched fear so deeply. Fear of being alone. Fear of choosing wrong. Fear of staying too long. Fear of ending up with regret. Fear of missing the one I intended. Fear of being too much for the right person and not enough for the wrong one. Fear of watching everyone else move forward while your life still feels paused. These fears do not make you weak. They make you human. But when they go unchecked, they can become a lens that distorts everything. You stop seeing people as they are and start seeing them as potential salvation or potential disaster. You stop hearing my voice and start hearing the echo of your past. You stop walking by faith and start walking by anxiety. That is why I am speaking so directly to you now. I want to break the agreement between your heart and the fear that has been discipling it. Beloved, I know the specific traps that have been woven around your story. There was the trap of impatience, where you tried to force a harvest before the seed had even finished rooting. There was the trap of comparison, where you judged your season by someone else's highlight and concluded that you were behind. There was the trap of soul ties, where what was emotionally intense kept pulling your attention even after it stopped producing peace. There was the trap of fantasy, where you built a future around what you hoped someone would become instead of what they actually showed you. There was the trap of spiritual shortcuts, where you wanted a quick revelation more than a slow formation. And there was the trap of trying to use relationship to solve identity pain. If I can just be chosen, then I will feel worthy. If I can just be loved, then I will feel secure. If I can just find the right one, then I will finally be whole. No, my child, you do not become whole by being attached. You become secure by being rooted in me. This is why I am pressing your heart to let go of what was never mine. Not because I am cruel, because I am protective. There are some loves that will not destroy you in one dramatic moment. They will erode you slowly. They will take your energy, your clarity, your prayer life, your self-respect, and your ability to hear me. They will keep you in a cycle of hope and disappointment, so subtle you almost begin to call it normal. But I am interrupting that cycle now. I am bringing you to a place where you can see what is true without collapsing under it. I am teaching you how to grieve without idolizing. I am teaching you how to release without becoming cynical. I am teaching you how to say, if this is from you, Lord, then it will stand in truth. But if it is not, I will not fight you for it. And I know that hurts, because some of you have already fought too hard for too long. You fought for the relationship. You fought for the conversation. You fought for the version of the person that existed in your hope, not in reality. You fought to keep believing that if you just loved more patiently, prayed more fervently, and waited more faithfully, everything would work out. But sometimes the fight itself is the sign that you are trying to hold something I am asking you to lay down. That does not mean your heart was wrong to hope. It means hope must be guided by truth, or it becomes a chain. I will not let a chain define your future. So breathe, my child. Not because there is nothing to fear, but because I am greater than what fear is telling you. Breathe, because even now I am uncovering what needs to be seen. Breathe, because I am separating what is real from what is counterfeit. Breathe, because your pain is not proof that you are abandoned. Breathe, because the very thing that seems to be breaking apart may be the false story that has kept you from peace. And breathe, because I have done this before. I have led the forgotten into promise. I have lifted the betrayed into purpose. I have turned prisons into preparation and deserts into classrooms. I have done it for Job. I have done it for Joseph. I have done it for David. I have done it for Moses. And I am doing it for you. My child, I know how modern grief sounds. It sounds like a phone that never rings with the right name. It sounds like a layoff email that arrives before sunrise and steals your sense of safety before breakfast. It sounds like sitting in a doctor's office trying to remain calm while your mind races ahead to every possibility you do not want to name. It sounds like signing divorce papers with a hand that will not stop shaking. It sounds like watching a promise disappear one text message at a time. It sounds like the silence after betrayal when the person who once knew your heart now feels like a stranger with access to your memories. I know these sounds, beloved. I know the way they echo in a house when everyone is asleep. I know the ceiling you stare at when your thoughts refuse to slow down. I know the deep, private shame that sometimes follows hardship, as if suffering itself means you failed some test you never knew you were taking. But I am telling you now that your pain is not the same thing as your punishment. Your tears are not evidence that I have left you. Your sleepless nights are not proof that you are forgotten. Your losses are not random to me. I see the bigger story, even now. Some of you have been through the kind of loss that changes your posture. You used to walk into a room with confidence, but after what happened, you now carry yourself like someone bracing for impact. You used to believe people at face value, but now you read between every line. You used to imagine that love would feel natural, but now even kindness makes you suspicious because your history taught you that pain can wear a beautiful face. Beloved, I know how hard it is to recover from disappointment when your nervous system remembers what your mind is trying to forget. I know how job loss can make you question your value. I know how divorce can make you question your judgment. I know how illness can make you question your future. I know how betrayal can make you question your worth. And I know how sleepless nights can make the world feel louder and smaller at the same time. There are moments when a human life feels paused, but heaven is not paused. There are moments when you feel stuck in the same room with the same questions, but I am moving in rooms you cannot enter yet. You think nothing is happening because you cannot see movement with your natural eyes. But under the surface, roots are growing. Under the surface, doors are shifting. Under the surface, I am rearranging what you thought was settled. Sometimes the delay you resented most was the very thing keeping you from receiving a blessing before you could carry it. Sometimes the person you were praying for was being exposed while you thought they were being hidden for your benefit. Sometimes I was preserving your future by interrupting your comfort. And sometimes I was preparing you in a way that only time could reveal. But there is something I need you to know before I say anything else. What you called delay was often preparation. My child, I want that to land softly in you. Because if you let it, it will heal a place fear has dominated for years. What you called delay was often preparation. Not punishment, not rejection, not forgotten timing. Preparation. I was preparing your discernment so you could tell the difference between flattery and faithfulness. I was preparing your courage so you would not collapse when truth arrived. I was preparing your heart so you could love without losing yourself. I was preparing your standards so you would stop calling access intimacy. I was preparing your patience so you could recognize the difference between a seasonal connection and a covenant relationship. I was preparing your identity so you would not need another person to validate your existence. I was preparing your finances so you would not have to panic every time life changed. I was preparing your peace so that when the right thing came, you would not mistake it for danger. I know that some of you can hear this and immediately feel resistance, because your disappointment has trained you to expect the worst. You hear preparation, and your heart says, then why did it hurt so much? Why did it take so long? Why did I have to cry through it? Why did I have to lose so much? Beloved, I am not going to insult you with empty words. Pain is still pain. Loss is still loss. A broken marriage is still broken. A lost job is still lost. A bad diagnosis is still frightening. A betrayal is still betrayal. I do not ask you to pretend otherwise, but I do ask you to trust that suffering is not wasted in my hands. What was done to harm you does not become holy just because I can redeem it. Yet I am so sovereign, so wise, so complete, that I can take what was meant for destruction and use it to shape something strong, clean, and lasting. You have wanted answers that would make the whole story understandable. You wanted the exact reason this connection was delayed, the exact reason this person came and went, the exact reason love feels so complicated in your life. Sometimes I will give you a reason later. Sometimes I will give you peace before I give you explanation. And sometimes I will show you that the delay itself was the answer. If I had brought you the relationship before the healing, you would have tried to use it to patch old wounds. If I had brought you the promise before the pruning, you would have carried insecurity into covenant. If I had brought you the blessing before the breakdown, you might have built your life around something that could not withstand the weight of what was coming. So I held back what you wanted to give you what you needed. Think about a seed, my child. No one looks at a buried seed and calls it failure because it has not become a tree in a day. No one accuses the soil of being cruel because the seed is hidden. No one says the farmer does not care because growth is invisible. Yet when it comes to your life, you have often treated the hidden season like abandonment. I am telling you that concealment is not the same thing as absence. In hidden seasons, I am not ignoring you. I am germinating something. I am strengthening what cannot be rushed. I am building below the surface where pride cannot interfere and fear cannot manage the outcome. Some of you needed your expectations stripped away so your faith could mature. You came into this season expecting the right person to arrive and instantly make the pain go away. But if that had happened, you might have loved the relief more than the person. You might have confused gratitude with discernment. You might have accepted connection without character. So I taught you through waiting. Waiting exposed what was inside you. Waiting exposed what was inside others. Waiting exposed your triggers, your patterns, your attachment wounds, your tendency to cling, your tendency to withdraw, your tendency to overgive, your tendency to overinterpret. Waiting was not passive. Waiting was surgery. And surgery can feel brutal while it is happening, even though it is saving your life. You may have noticed that the relationships that seemed easiest to start were often the hardest to sustain. That is not an accident. The enemy loves speed when speed bypasses wisdom. He loves a fast yes that skips the testing. He loves intensity without endurance. He loves a connection that feels like fate before it proves fruit. But I am not at war with your joy. I am at war with what would steal it. So I slow things down when necessary. I interrupt patterns when necessary. I let some doors close when necessary. And if you can trust me long enough to see beyond the discomfort, you will realize I was protecting you from the exact heartbreak you once feared. Beloved, perhaps you remember a season when you thought, this must be the one. Maybe it was a person who came in just when you were tired of being alone. Maybe they said all the right things. Maybe they mirrored your pain, your values, your sense of humor, your spiritual language. Maybe they seemed to understand the part of you no one else saw. And because you had been aching so long, you called that familiarity destiny. But later the cracks appeared. The inconsistency, the secrecy, the emotional unavailability, the subtle manipulation, the lack of true responsibility, the way you were always the one bending, waiting, explaining, forgiving, hoping. That did not happen to shame you. It happened to teach you. I allowed the pattern to show itself before it could become your prison. And some of you are thinking of a different kind of pain now. Not the pain of a bad romance, but the pain of a life that simply did not go the way you expected. You thought you would be married by now. You thought you would have a family by now. You thought you would be healed by now. You thought your body would be stronger by now. You thought your finances would be more stable by now. You thought your home would feel more peaceful by now. You thought the person who hurt you would have repented by now. You thought the conversation would have happened by now. You thought I would have answered by now. My child, I am not offended by your timeline. I am not upset that you are tired. I am asking you to surrender the illusion that your life must look a certain way for my hand to be on it. I have led many of my dearest children through seasons that looked delayed, but were actually deeply purposeful. There is a quiet truth here, and I want you to sit with it. If I had given you everything you wanted at the moment you wanted it, you might have become dependent on the gift instead of devoted to the giver. You might have made the relationship more central than your call. You might have mistaken comfort for covenant. You might have stopped growing because you felt safe enough to stop seeking me. So yes, I waited. Yes, I delayed. But I did so with love, not neglect. I did so with foresight, not confusion. I did so with your future in view, not your immediate relief. That is what a good father does. He does not always say yes quickly. He says yes wisely. I know there are some of you who have lived too long in survival mode to trust this kind of truth easily. Survival mode tells you to seize what you can when you can, because nothing is guaranteed. It makes you cling. It makes you rush. It makes you compromise. It makes you settle for less because less feels available and more feels risky. But I am breaking survival mode over your life. You do not have to choose from fear anymore. You do not have to scramble for what is meant for you. You do not have to enter relationships as if you are auditioning for love. You are already known. You are already seen. You are already kept by my hand. That changes everything. Maybe that is why the silence has been so hard. Because silence forces you to confront whether you trust me or just the feeling of being wanted. Silence strips away the fantasy and reveals whether your hope is rooted in me or in the relief of not being alone. That can feel uncomfortable, but it is holy work. I am teaching you to be content without becoming closed. I am teaching you to be hopeful without becoming desperate. I am teaching you to desire deeply without making desire your master. That kind of maturity does not come overnight. It comes through seasons, through pruning, through tears, through surrender, through nights where you say, Lord, I do not understand, but I will not let go of you. Beloved, do you know why this turning point matters? Because once you understand that the delay was preparation, you stop interpreting every unanswered prayer as a sign of abandonment. You stop looking at your waiting season like wasted time. You start seeing the missing pieces as mercy. You start seeing the closed doors as protection. You start seeing the heartbreak as revelation. You start seeing that every delay had a job to do. It had to slow you down enough to make you listen. It had to expose what was hidden. It had to break your dependence on appearances. It had to draw you back to the place where I alone could satisfy you. I am not asking you to love waiting. I am asking you to honor what waiting produced. There is wisdom in you now that you did not have before. There is discernment in you now that was not there before. There is a tenderness in you now that is different from naivete. There is strength in you now that was forged in disappointment. There is humility in you now that can recognize my voice more clearly. You are not the same person who entered the ache. You have been formed by it. And because you have been formed, you are now able to receive what would once have overwhelmed you. Some of you are on the edge of a breakthrough in understanding. You are about to realize that the person you begged me to send, or keep, or restore, or reveal, was not the center of the story. I was. I have been the center all along. Not because I am selfish, but because only I can hold all the pieces without breaking. Only I can see the end from the beginning. Only I can love you without using you. Only I can guide you without confusing you. So when I say your delay was preparation, I am also telling you that your heartbreak has not been random. It has been making room. For what? For wisdom. For healing. For a cleaner love. For a clearer yes. For a future that does not need to be rescued from itself. Stay with me a little longer, my child. The next thing I show you may challenge the story you have told yourself about why certain doors stayed shut and why others opened too soon. But do not be afraid. I am bringing you closer to truth, and truth, even when it stings, is how I set you free. My child, now that you can see that the delay was preparation, I need to take you one step further into the truth I have been building all along. There are things I have not let you discover too early because I was protecting your heart from settling for less than what I prepared for you. There are answers I have withheld because you were not yet strong enough to carry them without turning them into fear. But now you are ready to hear this. What I am doing in your life is not random, and it is not small. I have not been working only on the surface of your circumstances. I have been working in the hidden places, in the places where pain shaped your assumptions, in the places where disappointment trained your expectations, in the places where betrayal taught you to doubt what is good. I have been undercutting fear at the roots. I have been building peace where panic once lived. I have been preparing a path where your feet will not stumble. So let me speak promises over you now, promises that are not fragile like human words, but anchored in my own heart and my own covenant. I said through my servant, I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. That word still stands over your life, my child. Your future is not an accident waiting to happen. Your future is in my hands. When you do not know what is next, I know. When you feel behind, I am already ahead. When you wonder whether the pain ruined everything, I am redeeming what you could not fix. And when your heart says there is no way forward, I remind you that I am the way. I want you to hear the authority in this. I will not waste your tears. I will not waste your waiting. I will not waste your prayers. The enemy may have meant your heartbreak for destruction, but I am Lord over every detail, and I turn what was meant for harm into testimony. I did it with Joseph. I did it with Ruth. I did it with Esther. I did it with David. I did it with Job. I did it with Moses. And I am doing it with you. The very chapters that seem to disqualify you are the chapters I am using to refine you. The very places where you felt least likely to survive are the places where my strength will become undeniable. My grace is sufficient for you, and my power is made perfect in weakness. That means your weakness does not repel me, beloved. It becomes the place where I display my care most clearly. Some of you have been terrified that what you are about to discover will confirm your worst suspicion, that you were never truly meant to be loved, never truly meant to be chosen, never truly meant to have the kind of relationship your heart longs for. But I am here to dismantle that lie with truth. The one who knitted you together did not craft you for abandonment. The one who set eternity in your heart did not mock your longing. The one who sees the beginning and the end did not create your story to end in emptiness. I am the God who makes a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. If there is a wilderness around your love life, I can make a way. If there is a desert in your finances, I can send rain. If there is a barrenness in your home, I can bring life. If there is a closed door that must open, I can open it. If there is a relationship that must be healed, I can heal it. If there is a false connection that must be severed, I can sever it. I am not limited by what has happened. I am Lord over what happens next. But let me tell you something else before I say anything else. The breakthrough you have been asking for may not arrive in the shape you imagined, but it will arrive in the way that serves your soul best. Beloved, that matters. Because some of you have been begging for one outcome, while I have been preparing a better one. You asked for the immediate restoration of something that would have kept you in cycles you have outgrown. You asked for the person who made your heart race, while I have been preparing the person who will also bring your soul peace. You asked for visibility, while I was preparing substance. You asked for a sign, while I was preparing a foundation. You asked for certainty, while I was preparing discernment. What I give you may not make the flesh clap at first, but it will make your spirit breathe. And that is better. That is always better. I want to speak directly over the areas where fear has been trying to rule. To the one who has been afraid of another betrayal, I say, I will teach your heart to recognize fruit, not just words. I will steady you so you do not panic at every new connection. You will not be doomed to repeat the same pattern forever. I am able to heal what was broken and to guide you with wisdom. To the one who fears financial instability and wonders how love could ever fit into such a hard season, I say, I am Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who provides. I feed the ravens. I clothe the lilies. I am not ignorant of what you need. I know how to order provision in ways you did not expect. To the one whose body has been weak, whose diagnosis has made everything feel fragile, I say, I am with you in the waiting rooms, in the hospital hallways, in the private prayers said through tears. I see the ache, and I am not intimidated by it. To the one who feels delayed by age, by divorce, by widowhood, by circumstances that make you wonder if time has passed you by, I say, I am not bound by clocks. I restore years. I redeem seasons. I do not ask permission from regret. There are promises in my word that belong to you right now, not someday in some distant abstract way. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Beloved, do you hear me? Not some of your ways. All your ways. Not only the easy ones. All of them. The confusion, the longing, the uncertainty, the desire to know who, when, and how. Bring all of it to me. Let me direct your paths. I am not asking you to figure out your destiny by force. I am asking you to trust me enough to lead you. And I know you have tried. I know you have tried to understand the signs, to decode the timing, to make the pieces fit. But the reason it has been so exhausting is because you were never meant to be your own prophet. You were never meant to carry the burden of foreknowledge. You were never meant to manage your life by constant vigilance. You were meant to walk with me. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. That does not mean your life will have no storms. It means you do not have to carry the storm alone. Some of you need to hear this in your bones. I am not only concerned with whether someone comes. I am concerned with who you become while waiting, while healing, while releasing, while trusting. Because if the right person came into your life before your heart learned peace, you would turn the relationship into a battlefield of old fears. So I am maturing you, not to make you harder, but to make you healthier. Not to make you numb, but to make you safe. Not to make you suspicious, but to make you wise. I see the ones of you who have prayed in secret. Lord, if this person is for me, let it be clear. If not, take them away. I have heard that prayer, and I have answered it in ways you may not have welcomed at first. Because clarity sometimes comes through closure. Peace sometimes comes through disappointment. Freedom sometimes comes through release. You thought you were losing an answer, but I was actually ending a distraction. You thought you were being left, but I was pulling you from something that could have slowly drained your joy. Do not curse the mercy that rescued you from what your emotions wanted, but your future could not survive. You are not late, beloved. You are not behind. You are not too broken. You are not too damaged. You are not too old. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are not too complicated for my tenderness. My hand is not short that it cannot save, nor is my ear heavy that it cannot hear. I have seen every lonely Christmas, every birthday that reminded you of what has not yet happened, every family gathering where you smiled through the ache, every night you sat in the dark wondering if this was how your story would always feel. I know the ache of watching life move forward around you while your own heart felt paused. But I tell you the truth, the pause was not the end. It was the quiet before a new beginning. And because I know your heart is still asking questions, let me speak one more thing before I draw you into prayer. There is a distinction between what you want and what I will bless. There is a distinction between what feels fated and what is faithful. There is a distinction between a connection that inflames your longing and a covenant that steadies your soul. Do not confuse emotional intensity with my endorsement. Do not call it mine just because it is difficult to let go. I am revealing hidden things, my child, so that you do not mistake pain for purpose. What I am about to lead you into will not require you to live in confusion. It will not require you to compromise your standards to keep someone close. It will not require you to betray the truth of who I made you to be. Now receive these words as if I am placing them gently in your hands. I am restoring what the locust has eaten. I am breathing on dry places. I am strengthening the weary. I am lifting the head that has been bowed by sorrow. I am calming the anxious mind. I am guarding your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. I am making you steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work I have given you, because your labor in me is not in vain. The season of hidden growth has meaning. The season of tears has meaning. The season of waiting has meaning. And the season of revelation will have even greater meaning, because you will look back and know that I was there all along. So now, my beloved, I want to pray over you. Father, I bring this child before you with all the honesty of their pain and all the hope of your promises. You know the sleepless nights. You know the places where their mind has run in circles. You know the fear that rises when they are alone with their thoughts. You know the history that made trusting so hard. You know the betrayal that changed them, the loss that emptied them, the disappointment that wore them down, the financial strain that made them feel trapped, the diagnosis that made them feel fragile, the divorce that made them feel disposable, the job loss that made them question their worth, the unanswered prayers that made them wonder if you were silent. Lord, you know it all, and you are not afraid of any of it. So I ask you now to cover them with a peace that does not depend on circumstances changing immediately. Let the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard their heart and mind in Christ Jesus. Guard them from false hope. Guard them from destructive obsession. Guard them from the voice that says they must force what you have not finished. Guard them from relationships that feed their fear instead of their faith. Guard them from spiritual confusion dressed up as romance. Guard them from every counterfeit that pretends to be destiny but cannot sustain covenant. Father, give them wisdom. Your word says if anyone lacks wisdom, Let them ask of God, who gives generously without finding fault. So I ask for wisdom over this beloved one now. Wisdom to discern character. Wisdom to wait when waiting is needed. Wisdom to walk away when you are closing a door. Wisdom to recognize fruit, not flash. Wisdom to listen to conviction. Wisdom to hear your voice above every other voice. Wisdom to distinguish a season from a sentence, a lesson from a lifelong assignment, a desire from a divine appointment. Let wisdom become the rhythm of their days. Lord, I ask for protection over their mind. Protect them from intrusive thoughts that replay old pain. Protect them from the lie that they are forgotten. Protect them from the ache of comparison. Protect them from doom scrolling, from late-night spirals, from the endless searching that leaves them more confused than before. Interrupt the patterns that have kept them restless. Break the cycle of checking, chasing, and overanalyzing. Teach them to rest without guilt. Teach them to breathe without fear. Teach them to sleep in peace because you are watching over them. Father, protect their heart. You said to guard our heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. So I ask that you would seal the places where they have been exposed too deeply, too soon, too often. Heal the boundary wounds. Heal the trust wounds. Heal the places where they have confused being needed with being loved. Heal the places where they gave too much because they were afraid of losing. Heal the places where they withheld too much because they were afraid of being hurt again. Make their heart tender, but not naive. Open, but not unsafe. Loving, but not careless. Strong, but not hardened. Father, I pray for courage now. Courage to let truth be true, even when it disappoints them. Courage to release what is not from you. Courage to stop begging for what you have already said no to. Courage to face the grief that comes with closure. Courage to stand up after betrayal and not call themselves broken forever. Courage to believe that one chapter ending does not mean their book has ended. Courage to try again when you lead them. Courage to be alone without being lonely. Courage to trust that your timing is not cruelty, but kindness. Jesus, I pray for breakthrough over every area that has felt stuck. Breakthrough in their finances where pressure has been heavy. Breakthrough in their home where tension has lingered. Breakthrough in their emotions where tears have been stored too long. Breakthrough in their body where weakness has set limits. Breakthrough in their relationships where misunderstanding has hardened into distance. Breakthrough in their calling where hesitation has delayed obedience. Breakthrough in the hidden places where shame has whispered too loudly. Let your light invade what darkness tried to keep hidden. Let the truth expose what needs to be exposed, not to humiliate, but to heal. Let every hidden trap be brought into the light and rendered powerless. Father, if there are connections in this person's life that are not of you, remove them with mercy. If there are soul ties that need to be broken, break them. If there are memories that keep reopening the wound, bring healing to the memory. If there are lies spoken over their identity, overturn them with your truth. If they have agreed with rejection, cancel that agreement now. If they have agreed with abandonment, cancel that agreement now. If they have agreed with unworthiness, cancel that agreement now. Replace every false verdict with the verdict of heaven. Chosen, loved, kept, called, seen, and redeemed. Lord, I pray over their future. Lead them step by step. Do not allow them to rush into what they are not ready for, and do not let them miss what you have prepared because fear made them look away. Order their steps in peace. Make the path straight where it has been crooked. Make the path clear where it has been hidden. Teach them to recognize your fingerprints in ordinary days. Teach them to know that you are with them in the mundane as much as in the miraculous. Teach them that consistency is a gift, that steadiness is holy, that a quiet yes from you is more valuable than a dramatic promise from people. Father, I pray for healing from the deep places of disappointment. Where they have cried themselves dry, refill them. Where they have become weary of hoping, renew hope. Where they have become numb to protect themselves, soften them safely. Where they have become cynical, restore wonder without removing discernment. Where they have lost their voice, return it. Where they have lost their smile, return joy. Where they have lost sleep, grant rest. Where they have lost clarity, give them light. Where they have lost confidence, restore holy confidence in who they are in you. Jesus, I ask you to bless the waiting, not just to end it, but to bless it. Let the waiting not be empty. Let it be fruitful. Let it produce maturity, endurance, humility, and trust. Let it produce deeper roots. Let it produce cleaner motives. Let it produce a testimony that will help others who are still in the dark. Let them look back and say, I did not understand it then, but now I see that the delay was mercy, the silence was preparation, and the pain was not the end of the story. Father, thank you that no tear is wasted. Thank you that you collect them. Thank you that you remember the cries no one else heard. Thank you that you are near to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. Thank you that your love does not depend on our performance. Thank you that your plan is larger than our fear. Thank you that even when we are faithless, you remain faithful, for you cannot deny yourself. Thank you that you are writing a story that fear could never write and that pain could never cancel. So now, in the name of Jesus, I declare over this child that fear will not rule them. Confusion will not rule them. Panic will not rule them. Obsession will not rule them. The past will not rule them. Betrayal will not rule them. Shame will not rule them. Lack will not rule them. Delay will not rule them. The peace of Christ will rule their heart. The wisdom of God will rule their decisions. The love of the Father will rule their identity. The Word of God will rule their mind. The Spirit of God will rule their steps. And my child, I want you to receive this blessing as if I am speaking it right into the center of your waiting. May you be protected while you heal, guided while you wait, strengthened while you grow, and surprised by joy where you expected only struggle. May what was hidden become clear in my perfect time. May what was delayed become fruitful in my perfect way. May what was painful become purposeful in my perfect hands. May your heart rest in me so completely that fear loses its voice. May you walk forward with enough peace to recognize the gift when it arrives, and enough wisdom to know that I was faithful all along. Beloved, you are not being left behind. You are being led.